Well, good evening, everyone. It is about 5:45 here on Monday evening. I wanted to get on, do a quick update video here for not only what we're seeing going on kind of right now, severe weather-wise, but also where severe weather may impact for tomorrow. So that'd be Tuesday afternoon and evening. Does look like Dallas-Fort Worth could actually have the chance to get in on some rain. I don't think anything severe, but certainly some rain, maybe early Tuesday morning and then again early Wednesday morning as these storms kind of traversed from the Panhandle all the way across North Texas. So, do want to take a look at that. This is again our visible satellite here. Several different features that we can see here that are just kind of interesting. So, did want to highlight those. We've got storms here across kind of Northwest Texas, Texas Panhandle here, up into Southwest Kansas and the Oklahoma Panhandle. A little bit of low pressure, kind of this spin that you can see here in the atmosphere. We've got more storms down across West Texas and kind of the mountains of northern Mexico. Just kind of some overall almost monsoonal storms here across the Four Corners region. We've got our trough kind of digging down here across the Pacific Northwest that created a little bit of severe weather yesterday, and then even a chance across Montana here over the next couple hours. Then we've got the storms over the southeast and Florida with kind of this outflow boundary here that's moving to the west, which is a little bit interesting. And that's kind of firing off storms. And then lastly, we have our area of low pressure here off in the Atlantic Ocean that the Hurricane Center is currently monitoring as well. So lots going on. Not to mention, we've got some of this haze and smoke that's here across the northern plains from the wildfires up in Canada. So a lot going on. I think looking at the visible satellite is always really interesting, especially when there's multiple things going on. So did want to kind of highlight that. Again, right here, these storms over the kind of southeast Texas panhandle, these are going to move kind of to the southeast over these coming hours and into the overnight, and may have a chance of clipping the Dallas Fort Worth area towards the early morning hours of our Tuesday here coming up. So, do you want to take a look at that? When we look at a couple of the forecast models, just overall kind of what's setting up, again, looking at tomorrow specifically, I think what we're going to see initially is, and you know what, let me go to start with the actual reflectivity just to give us kind of an idea, and then we can kind of move backwards in time from there. So let's look at currently kind of where the storms are ongoing here. This is again kind of looking at about the time that we are now. We've got these storms that models were correctly showing here across the southeast Texas panhandle and kind of extreme northwest Texas and West Texas as well. And then watch what happens as we go through the overnight hours to come. Those storms continue to move kind of east southeast in a pretty big, just kind of clump of different storms. And they do possibly stay together all the way to the Dallas Fort Worth area here in those early morning hours. This would be about 4, 5 a.m. And then as we move into kind of that rush hour period, when we get to 6, 7 a.m., it is still showing that there could be a couple storms that are still alive that have made it all the way to the Dallas Fort Worth area. So wouldn't expect these to really be severe, maybe a little bit of wind, but I wouldn't really expect any hail by this point. Probably just some rainfall, if anything. But it is interesting to see that these storms may stay together long enough to make it that far. Then, when we look in kind of our Tuesday afternoon and evening, we get another round of storms here, kind of in the early to kind of mid to late afternoon, here across the northern Texas panhandle, the South Plains around the Lubbock area, and then again, kind of here in Southwest Texas as well. So, again, this would be about 6 p.m., kind of around that I-27 corridor in the panhandle. And then as we move forward in time, again, those storms move kind of east, southeast, kind of that general direction that we're going to see today. And then those as well continue on and get close to even clipping the Dallas Fort Worth area and may even make it to the Austin metro as well. Again, this would be kind of overnight hours into that rush hour time period for Wednesday morning. So, pretty interesting to see that there could be some rounds of storms again. With this stuff, nothing severe would really be expected again, but just some beneficial rain of those leftover storms from the night before. So we could see that here for the next 2 evenings. Now, did want to look at tomorrow specifically on the storm front and kind of what we may be looking at. Again, let's go to our moisture. This is looking at 6 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. And again, what we can see here is that we'll likely have these storms kind of right along the I-27 corridor here in the Panhandle and across the South Plains. But I think what's worth noting is we do have these higher dew points and this better moisture just off the cap rock to the east here. And we've got these wind barbs here that are coming out of the east southeast. So it's possible that as we get to kind of that 6, 7, 8 p.m. time frame, if storms can move far enough to the east and kind of start to go off the caprock, they are going to have a little bit of a more favorable environment. We could see an uptick in the intensity. Again, probably more of a hail and wind threat, but can't rule out maybe an isolated tornado. There's definitely been many cases that when you get kind of right on the edge of that caprock, because that air is forced up and when it's coming out of the east, like it looks like it will be tomorrow, sometimes a little bit better moisture, it can lower those cloud bases and you can get a brief tornado or two. So definitely worth watching tomorrow to see if this does materialize. But I think that could be a little bit of an uptick in severe weather chances, kind of that 5 to 9 p.m. range tomorrow, kind of across the big country and really the Caprock area right there in kind of the southern Texas panhandle and eastern Texas panhandle as well. So I think that just looking at moisture, that's certainly something that caught my eye. Again, when we go back to the models and we look at instability that's going to be in place, and we look at tomorrow again, kind of afternoon, again, kind of that same area where our best instability it overlaps where that moisture is. We've got these kind of east southeast surface winds kind of coming up against the cap rock, a little bit better instability. We're uncapped, and so I think that we will see some severe storms here tomorrow afternoon. And sometimes you get what's called panhandle magic, in that, again, that air kind of comes up against the cap rock, it's forced up. It gives you a little bit more strength with some of those storms. And sometimes you can even get a surprise or two in there. So that looks like likely what we're going to see tomorrow. Again, when we look at those helicity swaths, kind of showing where those biggest updrafts are, it is picking up tomorrow afternoon and evening, kind of here from south of the Lubbock area to around kind of that Big Spring, west of Abilene, kind of target, maybe Sweetwater, Snyder, those types of areas. So could see a stronger storm in that area. We'll see. It's still a little bit far out, but that's kind of what the models are showing here. So again, I think going back and kind of looking overall at the simulated reflectivity, I think again we've got these storms here. They're going to move kind of southeast. It's going to impact the I-20 corridor overnight, and then possibly Dallas Fort Worth in those early morning hours to the rush hour. Then again, these storms kind of in the Panhandle that fire up tomorrow afternoon. They're going to move east southeast again. Could be some severe weather there, and then may stay together to impact the I-35 and I-20 corridors as well early morning hours on Wednesday. So I hope everybody had a good start to the week here on this Monday, and has a good Monday evening here coming up. And certainly we'll see kind of how these different days here moving forward, how they kind of come together. But it does look like we'll have some off and on severe weather chances, especially across the western side of Texas here over these coming days. So hope everybody has a good Monday, and I'll see you back for the next video.